Salutations, salutations, everyone. I am so glad to be among you guys. Another day, God is in control of that, and I just thank Him so much. And I thank Him also for this next guest I'm gonna have in your presence as well. So you know, I have to make sure I put on my bra so I can prepare you guys and be presentable enough to present this person to you. She is an entrepreneur. She's an esthetician. She's also the host of the Beautifully Honest podcast, and so I am so grateful that she took the time out to share the space with me. So I'm hoping that when this conversation does happen, that you have some gems that you're able to pick up on. You're able to be inspired to do what it is you want to do, whether you want to begin a skincare line or whether you want to be in that type of beauty business or if you want to start a podcast or whatever it is that your where your lane is on. I'm hoping that this next guest will inspire you to achieve that and also be able to guide you through your journey. So I would like to present to you and introduce to others Beth Jennings, aka the Minister of Beauty, aka Being Beautifully Honest. Here we go.
I'm coming up, I'm pressing on, I'm getting over, I'm an overcomer. I'm coming up, I'm pressing on, I'm getting over it, I'm an overcomer.
And here she is in the building, being beautifully honest and beautiful as she is, as you can see. You know, she's over there looking like she's 29 years old. So I thank you so much for being here with us. And how are you, Miss Beautifully Honest?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. And,
Mhm.
it's just definitely a blessing to be
Yeah.
here. So I'm honored that you asked me to come on your
Yeah, and I'm
podcast.
honored that you accepted because I've actually, I've seen you been sneaking in some of our some of the chats, last few years. I've, like we follow some of the same people, like King Jives and Conscious TV, I believe you follow as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I've been seeing you, and I've also seen some of your content as well. So it is a blessing to have you here, and I do mean that. Like when I spew out these words, it's coming from an organic place. It's very genuine,
I can
because I'm not a bullshitter. So I mean, I know no other way. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear on that because and I said this to Sean Sinclair when I interviewed with him,
tell.
and I was telling him how much of a blessing it is to people to occupy my little piece of platform and to be in the presence of such great people, I don't take that for granted at all.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So, what are some of the things? So before we could begin with your journey, because it started somewhere.
Yeah.
I want to know what are some of the things you make sure that you don't take for granted.
Oh wow. That's an amazing question. Definitely life. The last just wake honestly, just every day I wake up, it is a blessing because I've been through a lot in my lifetime, and I'm sure many of us have these, the testimony like, "Oh, I've been through so much."
Mhm.
But I mean, even the past several years, it's really been a lot going on personally. And when I tell you, I'm just grateful to be here, literally, and
Right.
grateful for life because I really could have that situation where somebody would have been talking about me that, you know, I knew her because I really have been through it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that. And I'm hoping that we could dive just a little bit deeper, like if we can. And
Sure.
but I also want to compliment your photo in the background. By the way, that's real nice. I just noticed that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
like
you
that.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So mind if I call you Beth?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So, Beth, I want to, because I always like to start in the beginning, and I love the stories that I hear, and I pay attention to, of the humble beginnings, because
Mhm.
some people have the humble beginnings, always, try to use the example of ration out food, putting your name on the container, or sharing the TV. Did you have the bunk beds, the pallet on the floor? One parent household, two parent household. Did you have a gated fence on you? Did you have a white picket fence? Did you have that type of upbringing where it was more privileged. So I just want to get more of that. What are some of your memories that you could share with your childhood, siblings, cousins? Kind of give us the more of your childhood experience.
Okay. My childhood experience, I w it's funny because I had this conversation with someone recently and I said, I don't know if anybody understands or can relate to this, but when we are children, we don't feel like children. Even though we're going through child experiences, we're just going through life. And
You
then when
know
you
what?
look back over the
Wow.
years, it's
Okay.
like, oh my God, I was so
Yeah.
young. And it didn't feel
That's
that
a
way,
great
but
perspective. That's true.
exactly. And so
Mhm.
when you like looking at things in retrospect, it's like, oh my God, I was so young and I went through that. And it was like, oh my God. But my childhood, I would say it was decent. I definitely did not grow up rich for sure. I didn't grow up rich, but I would say I grew up in a household where it was maybe sort of like what you would call middle class. I
Okay.
grew up
Right.
I grew up in the suburbs and I grew up in my mom and dad married. They're still together to this day. But
Nice.
life definitely was not easy. And my dad, I love my father, I love my dad, I love both of my parents, but I'm not close. I don't have that closeness to him. I'm a mama's girl, and
Really?
I
Oh,
feel
that's okay. That's rare.
yeah, I'm
That's
a mama's
rare.
girl,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons is my dad was never, like, physically abusive or anything or sexually abusive, definitely none of that,
Okay.
but, um, when I grew up, I had the story of we kinda was like the opposite of Good Times where we were moving on down, or I mean,
Mhm.
opposite of the Jeffersons, we're moving on down, not moving on up.
Mhm.
So, like, I grew up in the suburbs, and then over the years, I started to see financial difficulties, and then, we moved from the suburbs to, from a house that they were buying to having to find a place to rent, and then another move, and then another move, and
Mm.
then another move, and it just seemed like it just was, progressively not, so as I was getting older, things were getting harder for me. So, and for the family, and a lot of that was because my dad, he wound up being addicted to drugs.
Oh, okay, I was about to ask that. What was the reason for all those downgrades? So thank you for that. I was about to ask that question.
Yeah, but my
Yeah.
mom being the great mother that she is, and she was a kindergarten teacher, and, teachers don't make a
Oh,
lot of money, but she was
right.
always working, and she was doing the best that she could to keep the family and, keeping us taken care of and things like that, and I will say my dad, he became sort of, I guess, like a functioning addict, so it wasn't like one of those things where he was strung out and
Hung
out in the
out.
streets
Mhm,
and left the
mhm.
home. He was still there, but he was not doing the best that he could to focus on his career. So things were hard. So a lot of
Mm.
things did get, missed and, and just different things like that. So, but my mom, like, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the easiest life. But when I look back on things in retrospect, it was like, well, I had a pretty
But you
decent
handed to her. Mhm.
yeah, so we weren't on, like, public assistance, and we weren't having
Mm,
to go to the
okay.
food pantry and,
Mm.
and different things like that. You know what I mean? It was never things like that, but it wasn't easy because when you have a two-income household and then it's like 1 and a half because the other
Because
income
of
is
issues,
steady.
right. Yeah.
Exactly. Because money is going to other things that it shouldn't be going towards, then it becomes, much harder.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, Beth, given the circumstance that you presented in regards to your father's addiction, even though it was functioning, I mean, I know sometimes it was still intolerable.
Mhm.
So I'm curious about something, because a lot of times when you have people in our mother's generation, and before us, they were programmed to endure way more in our marriages than we would.
Yeah,
Okay. And so
yeah.
I know she had to do a lot. And I know that, you saying that they've been married for such a long time. So let me ask you, being that it's affected everyone in the family unit,
Mhm.
um, in your own perspective, why do you think your mom stayed through all this? And did you ever resent her for staying through it?
Yeah, I will say that she probably stayed because it became normal to her, and it
Hmm.
wasn't the thing of, well, and it wasn't that she never had her times where she was like, you got to get out of here or whatever, because there were those times as well. And he's definitely had his run-ins with the law for getting caught for
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So yeah, but yeah, I will say that I definitely there were times where I resented her, but I still loved her and I would never like gave up on her or quit dealing with her because of him. And like I said, it started to get progressively worse over the years as I was getting older. So
Mm,
wasn't like it was something that affected me as much because I don't even want to say because, but um I I was a young mother, I had a child when I was young. Um and the man that I had a child with, he is my husband and to this day. But I will say this, it wasn't one of those situations where I had to marry him or I forced him or he
okay.
it was, it was he really was my best friend and still is to this day. And
Yeah.
I sometimes say, well, maybe this was God's way of looking out for me and protecting me because he put someone in my life, a male figure that has been my best friend and has loved me down, and literally
Aw.
seriously, and literally has taken care of me. So, and I take care of him, too. We
Right.
take care of each
Right.
other. So I'm just saying that to say, um, I often said to my mom, "Look, I love you, but there's no way I could ever do that because I just could never be the
Right.
that." You know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying when it's like
Yes.
they went through and put up with a lot of stuff that our generation would just be like, "You know what? Peace. This is for the birds.
Yeah,
I
yes.
by myself," or actually do better by
Right,
myself.
and it's okay to do that, and it's just like, I'm glad that you said that because, we get so caught up with a lot of women mostly that are so caught up with the idea of sticking it out and just
Oof.
bearing with it and all this stuff, and it's like, do better for you. It's okay,
Yes,
because 'cause you're blocking your blessing because people would like to use God. They love to insert God and everything, right? And so it's like, well, God is gonna see this through, but God, is probably giving you these red flags for a reason now. They
let
want you
God
they
see
want you to
you.
leave for the purpose.
Let God see you as you are leaving that situation.
Yes.
A lot of people has used God. They've used God, and they've even used family to
Yeah.
manipulate
Mhm.
people to do what they want them to do.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
Yeah, so it's like yeah,
mhm.
so I'm glad that you understood that because and I think that, the experiences of our ancestors, the experiences of, our mothers, grandmothers, aunties, are the best teachers, on what
Absolutely.
not to do. So, let's break that cycle, Beth. Let's break that cycle.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so now also going back to your father because I also have a mom who was, addicted. She wasn't functioning, unfortunately.
Yeah.
She was in that life. But you wouldn't tell by meeting her because she was 30 years clean. You
Yeah.
can't tell right now. You can't tell
Wonderful,
right now. Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. So then you can hear her story. I had an interview with her actually. So
Okay.
yeah, she has a great story, great
Yeah.
testimony. Yeah. So I want to know like did your father did he kick it? Um
This is what I will say. I really feel that he still struggles, but a lot of the health challenges that he has had, it's forced him to, you know what I mean, kind of
oh,
cut back. But
okay.
I would never, I won't ever say at this point that he has completely kicked it because I feel that he still has some of those friend forces in
Oh, okay.
that
And
are
that's never good.
and never good, never good,
Yeah.
and like I said, I'm not a daddy's girl. I love him, and I want him to do it's like I feel like by God's
Did you
grace,
have those conversations with Beth? I mean, did you have a conversation with him?
I have. I'm like, "You really just" I mean, I didn't say it like this, but, like, "Just keep your ass home." Like, what do you go you know what I mean? You're disabled, you're not working, you're on Social Security, like, what are you going out and hanging out with these losers for? Like, just
Right. What
you
is
know
out there?
so I've definitely tried my best to encourage because I've always said, well, I don't hate him, but I have had those years where I kind of felt like I hated him, but then I was like, I have to understand that because my family dynamic, we were never close like that in terms of like having a tight, close knit family. So I never met my grandparents on his side, and I've only heard stories. So I don't believe he had the easiest life growing up. So I don't really know. And, back then they didn't deal with mental health and getting therapy and counseling and
Of course, of
there was
course.
you know what I'm saying? So honestly, a lot of times if they turn to things that was either drugs, alcohol, or turning to working all the time, you
Mhm.
just you're addicted to something, you're not getting the help that you need
Right.
to
It's
do as
not. It's right. It's you're suppressing. Yeah.
suppressing, a lot of
Mhm.
suppression. So
Yeah,
I try
absolutely.
to just remember that and give grace and say, well, I don't know what it was like growing up, how he grew up. So, and he never got the help that he needed. I'm not excusing the behavior, but I'm saying, but I'm not going to demonize him for, because addiction is an illness. It
Sickness.
is
Mhm.
it's a
Mhm.
disease. And so, yeah, so when I learn those things, because you don't know what you don't know. And when you do, you know
Right.
yeah, so I just tried to give grace in those areas. So yeah, I definitely have tried to encourage, but I don't know. Never met my grandparents on his side, and we don't have like a really tight, close knit family. So there's a lot of cousins and stuff that I don't really know,
Mm.
and it is what it is. I've never like yearned for it because I just always felt like, well, if I don't know you, oh well, I'm not going to waste,
Right, right. I understand.
yeah. So yeah, I definitely tried to encourage in that way, but yeah, he probably still deals with the struggles of it all.
So how's your mom still deal with it? Because I mean, you would think that would be the motivating factor, his wife, mother of his
Yeah,
children.
and I will say that's why I said I feel like he tries, but I do feel like he still struggles with it. But my mom, she's one of those God people where she's always in church. She's always,
Yeah, okay.
and
Okay, got it.
that's been her thing. She's always in the church. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, hey,
Miss Stevie! Hey, Miss
thank
Stevie.
you. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's that I feel is what has definitely kept her. That is, her thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, so, now what would you, okay, and I mean, Imma close this topic out once I ask this question.
Mhm.
So what would be the ideal situation for you, just based off, what, just the story that you told in regards to your, mom and your dad and what he's struggling with still? What will be the ideal situation, in the family dynamic if, he was able to, become sober and took some accountability of how, his role and it is the function in his role and how it went from you living in the suburbs to you downsizing. And so, how would that look to you if he was able to fully take accountability of the situations that you and your family were in and wanting to sincerely rebuild a relationship with you?
Ooh. Good.
Yeah, I
I
know it's a lot. I know it's heavy. I know I laid that on you. I know.
Yeah, and it's not a bad question. I just would say that I don't even really know because I just kind of feel like it has been what it has been, so I don't really know, what I could say to that to make it different. I would just want the best for him and just like enjoy the rest of the time that you have here because no one knows when you're going to, breathe your last breath. So, you know what I mean? Do your best to like live because for many, many years, he hasn't been living. He's been, struggling
Existing.
and it's exactly existing. So so it wouldn't even have anything to do with me because we all have our own lives to live. I would just want him to, do the best he can with the rest of the days, years, whatever, he has left here and love your wife, because you have your children, but as you see and when once we grow up, we move on. We still,
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
So it ain't, and so at this point, I just feel like it ain't even about what I would want or, in terms of our relationship, because I don't think there's anything that I could even imagine because of the life that I've lived to say, oh well, I I don't know. I don't really think that way in terms of at least that, dynamic. So yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, okay. So, I mean, that was a good answer, actually. I mean, I think that, that was well said. I mean, because you have to be realistic about, that approach. So I understand that. Yeah. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm sorry. Did you touch on how many siblings you had? Did you touch on that?
What's that?
Did you touch on how many siblings you had? Or did you have any?
No, I mean, I don't have a relationship with the one that I do have, and we
Oh,
have the same parents, and it is what it is. I'm fine with it. There's been, and I don't talk about those things, but there's been multiple things that's happened in our lifetime, and I've just come to the conclusion that that's just who that person is, and I'm fine with it. I'm not
Right.
trying to make it work because I found that in my journey, I've met more people that have been more like siblings to me than the
Yeah.
person.
Mhm.
So and that's I feel like the thing that I've learned. Just because you have the same parents, it doesn't mean that your
Right.
siblings are going to have the same vision or
Absolutely.
mindset or whatever that you have. Some people are just dark, wicked people, and
Yes.
we're not going to
Yes.
force a relationship just because we have the same
Your
parents.
family. Thank you. God, we do have the, we do think alike because, a lot of people feel like they could just play the family card and everything is well. No. Just because we're family, I don't gotta force myself on you because we're family. I mean, I could
Right.
love you, but from a distance, because some
Yeah,
people are not always meant to be a part of your journey, like you said, and that's okay.
exactly.
You
And
gotta
I've
be
and
fine
I've
with that.
Yeah, I've been
Right.
through that where people have used that family manipulation. "Oh, well, because you're this person's whatever, you shouldn't
Mhm.
do." Like, "What?"
No, right, right. Yeah, we're family. They always we're family. I mean,
Mhm.
and it's only and they always use that when it's convenient because it's so funny how we are as family, you expect for us to allow this family member to do certain things to us that you don't want a stranger to do. If it's not okay for a stranger, why is it okay for somebody in my family to do it? And I gotta forgive and forget and move on and we buddies again. No, why should it have to be that way? You
Exactly,
know?
and forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation.
Whew. Yeah, yes, thank you. I was hoping that someone will understand that. Like, yeah, I mean, I just wish other people understood what the concept of forgiveness truly is because people truly believe that once you forgive someone, you wipe the slate clean and you have to reconcile with that person. No, you can forgive someone and still know how they fit into your life, whether they do or whether they don't. I mean, and forgiveness is also a process and you can't dictate, the timing of that. So you got to
You
understand
know,
that too.
I feel like I learned something from the Bible when it comes to forgiveness. I'm definitely no theologian. I can't name, well, this
Yeah.
this chapter, this verse,
Yeah,
whatever,
I'm still
but
working on him. Yeah.
but one of
Yeah.
the things that I feel like I've learned about forgiveness is that even when it comes to God, he said that we are supposed to repent. And then you've got people who claim to be believers saying, "Well, you're
Yes.
supposed to just outright forgive," but these people haven't even repented and asked for
Right.
forgiveness. But I'm
Yes.
just supposed, so it's like they hadn't even asked for it, and then you just want me to just
Mhm.
outright
Give him grace. Just
forgive?
give him grace. Just give him
God,
grace.
God doesn't even do that. He's so it's like I'm supposed to do that, and God already gave us the example of what forgiveness is. I feel like when the Bible talks about forgiveness, it's I feel like it's saying if someone asks for forgiveness, you're not supposed to just reject them and say, "No, I can't ever forgive you." And also, you forgive, but it doesn't mean that you have to reconcile and have them in your life either. So I feel like a lot of people they have used that in a way that that's not even the way it I feel like a lot of people have taught it incorrectly and a lot of people have assumed it incorrectly.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
just because there are a lot of people going around saying, "Well, I forgive them," and that person's like, "Forgive me for what? I don't owe you an apology. I didn't even do," you know what I mean? So
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
but I do agree with not holding it so that you're dealing with it moving
Right.
forward because you're here
Right.
carrying the weight of it and they moved on with their life and they could care less
Yep.
about the hurt that they inflicted upon you. So that sort of forgiveness is just like, well, I forgive myself. I'm moving on. I'm not going to hold a grudge and, hold my breath waiting for you to apologize or repent or ask for forgiveness or whatever because a
Right.
lot of times
Mhm.
people are never going to do that.
No, they and not, and you have to accept that as well, and that's totally fine with me, So, but I thank you for that perspective as well. And so, I want to get into the elementary and junior high school phase, whatever you can remember from that time, because I always like to hear those stories as well, because we don't talk about much of elementary and junior high school. So, I want to focus on that part because there's a lot of self discovery that we don't even think about, and we should because we talk about puberty, we talk about um humping in the staircase. We're talking about teachers, who teachers we interact with. Yeah, the teachers we interact with, and whether you was in the club, any type of membership, members of a club, or did you play an instrument, or what are some of the memories that you have from elementary and junior high school? Are you a popular kid, shy kid?
Wow. You know something? It's like I can remember a good bit from elementary school years. I really enjoy elementary school. I feel
Oh,
like I wouldn't say I was a popular kid, but I definitely was known and I had friends and we, you know what I mean? And I went to an elementary school. It was oh my God, I've never had anybody ask me these questions before about elementary school. So I'm kind of laughing because I'm getting like the memories of
mhm.
things.
Yes, and okay.
But yeah, I have fun in elementary school. I like the kids for the most part.
What made it so fun for you? What made it so memorable?
I don't even really know
Yeah.
exactly,
Oh, okay.
specific thing that made it fun, but I just can remember I went to elementary school in Charleston, South Carolina, and I just remember being a little girl. And when I think back on it, at
Oh,
times,
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Beth. I forgot to ask you where you born and raised. I'm so sorry.
I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. And yeah, I went to elementary school in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's funny because the big colleges in Charleston are the College of Charleston and the Medical University of South Carolina. But I remember being a little girl walking from my grandmother's house, that she had a house in Charleston, South Carolina, walking from her house, going to school. And the woman, well, she's a woman now, but the girl who was my best friend in elementary school, we haven't talked in years, but many years ago, I want to say it was like in 2012, she was she reached out to me and she was going to be in the town that I was in, and she came and we visited and we went to dinner and we were talking about
Oh,
elementary school. But yeah, but we were just talking about how we were just these little girls walking miles to
walking my house.
school, and we couldn't imagine our little
Oh,
children
no.
doing that these days,
Mm-mm,
but back
mm-mm.
then we did it.
We did, we did.
And we had fun. Like we were walking to school and just having a good time. And there were times where we would like sneak in the College of Charleston and go in the it's crazy. I don't even know how we did this back then. But yeah, we would cut through the College of Charleston and go in the teacher's lounge and take a
Oh,
soda out of the refrigerator. And
oh, not the
if
soda.
somebody walked in there and say, "Oh, our mom works here," or something like that. I don't even like it's crazy. Oh
Wow.
yeah, but playing on the payphones. Remember back in the day, we had the pay.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So there used to be some
Yes.
crazy tool you could do to like type in on the keypad and do something, and it would make the phone ring and just like silly
Yes,
stuff we used
yes.
to do back then. Playing the little the games that we used to play, like the hand games and all that.
Yes,
You
I
know,
love this. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I
I
was
love
saying,
it. Yes.
jump rope and stuff like that. So it was fun because I just remember those days and
Yes.
those were different times. So it was fun to me, and I really enjoyed elementary school. It was pretty easy, and in terms of me like just doing the work and still having fun, I was able to do that. And then transitioning to middle school, I went to middle school, and it was a school that was not in the same vicinity as the elementary school I went to, but I enjoyed going to middle school as well. I met friends there that I really
Okay,
enjoyed,
yes.
but honestly, when I look back on it now, I didn't keep in touch with a lot of the people because as I started getting older, that's when things started getting tougher and we were moving a lot. And I just didn't really feel safe and comfortable like connecting with the friends that I was hanging out with in school and after hours and things like that. But there were a few people that I did, and actually, it's kind of how I met my husband.
Oh. Oh, y'all grew
I
up
guess some
together.
things were meant to be. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
we're gonna get to that. Yeah, we definitely gonna get to the love story. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
We don't hear enough of those. So yeah, but I'm so see that's what I'm talking about. You did such a great job, giving those memories of elementary, junior high, because a lot of times you have a lot of guests that come on, they give such a general, viewpoint, but you gave, such a nostalgic, take on it with the with the phone thing and,
Yeah.
walking to and from school and the hand games. I mean, you really nailed it on that one. So, yeah, I thank you for that. You really
Oh,
nailed
thank
it on that
you.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is anything else like, did you, I don't know, did you join any clubs or anything? Were you part of any sports or anything like that?
No, I was never in sports. Honestly, I would say I love to laugh in school. I always love to laugh. So if there was a class clown in my
Mhm,
class,
mhm,
and I
mhm.
usually always there was always somebody that was a class clown in my class. So I was always laughing at the class clown, but I would still pay attention to my work and do well. I was even in the spelling bee when I was in elementary school,
Yeah.
and I did well in that. So I was never like a nerd or super, just
Right.
whatever, but
But you did
I
well, right, you did well, you did what
yeah,
you had to do. Yeah,
right,
yeah, I
right,
get it. I get it. You was a good student. You was a decent student.
yeah.
Yeah.
So never
So
played
now
any instruments or sports, I just never was into that, but yeah.
so what is, like, some of
I
the,
was a cheerleader, actually, I forgot
you
about that,
are? Are
forgot.
you
I
oh, yeah,
wasn't
how you forget about that?
actually,
Yeah.
when I was in elementary school, I was a cheerleader, you know how they used to have, like, these clubs in some of the communities where they had like the pee wee football teams, and so I was a cheerleader, for that. And then I tried to get into gymnastics when I was in elementary school as well, but that was a money thing and it just never really panned out. But either way, it was something that I did try when I was a little girl.
Oh,
So
good. Okay,
yeah.
yeah, that's okay, I like that, I like that. And
Yeah.
so what is some of the, if you could remember, like, some of the levels of self-discovery that you have at that time, what was part of your self-discovery?
Ooh, good question. I probably back then didn't really think about it that much because it was just so much going on at home where there were a lot of,
Oh,
like, hard things.
yeah.
I don't feel like I really got that chance to pay that much
Right,
attention to
right,
life.
yeah.
Yeah, mhm. Yeah.
But so how about, because I know there's a whole level of self-discovery in high school. What high school did you go to?
I went to high school, it was called Burke High School.
Burke High School.
And again, that was not in the same school district as the middle school that I went to. I actually wanted to go to a different middle school. I mean, a different high school because the majority of the people that were in the middle school that I went to would have been at the high school that I wanted to go to. But I didn't go there. I went to a high school that was closer to where my grandmother lived. So I feel like it was a thing where, involved transportation and things like that. But I met my husband at the high school that I went to. So like I said,
Aw,
it's probably like a thing that was meant to be. So yeah.
aw. I love that for y'all. Oh, yeah, so when you, you so around the time I said that was the time that you, met your husband, but I wanna know more about, um, was that the time when you met you? So to speak?
Yeah, I think I was definitely starting to meet me during those years. Yes.
And
Mhm.
what's some of the things that you got to know about yourself at that particular time?
I mean, I realized that I was never like the girl to like fit in into like a certain group because that's when I started to see there were like these cliques. That's when you really started to see the cliques when you were in high
Oh,
school.
yeah,
You
yeah.
saw the little different friend groups that I had like when I was in elementary school and middle school, but it just was what it was. But it seemed like in high school, then you started to have these cliques. So like this was the whatever clique and the other clique and this clique and that clique. And I was never like in any specific clique like that because I felt like there were some people that I just knew in the different cliques. And if I wanted to have a conversation with them, I would have a conversation with
Okay,
them because the way
right,
I thought it was like once I was done with school, I wasn't hanging out outside of school with these people for the most part. I think there were a few times here and there where someone invited
right.
to like a sleepover or something like that, but that wasn't very often. And honestly, even and I say this all the time to people that I know, just because I became a teen mother doesn't mean I was promiscuous because I wasn't.
Right. Oh, no,
You know?
no. Yeah, yeah,
And so I wasn't sleeping around with a bunch of different people and doing all of those things like that. The guy that I met in high school and we were in a relationship, even though we were young. And like I said, when you're
yeah.
younger, you
Oh,
don't
yeah,
feel like you're young until you look back on those years
yeah.
like, "Oh my God,
Mhm.
I was a child."
Yeah,
But we
mhm.
were in a relationship and it was one of those things where I I have the story of actually being on using birth control and getting pregnant. So I'm one of those statistics
One percenters, one
always
percenters. Yeah.
it doesn't always work. So, but my son is here and we never had any more children. So yeah.
Oh, so you, you know, with your, husband, is that, or they have no children with
Yes.
together?
What's that?
You and your husband, oh, that, you don't have children, oh, that's your husband, oh, that's your husband,
Yeah, that's
oh.
the only child we ever had is what I'm saying. So
Oh, that's even more of a blessing that, so y'all been together all that time?
mhm. Yeah.
Oh my god, oh, wow. I would
Saying
no,
he
this
didn't
is a
have more. It just never happened because, over the years we focused on college and then he's also
right,
been in the military and you know what I mean and all those different things and it just did not happen. And so it was like, well, look, I'm not going to have a baby and a 30-year-old or 25-year-old. So it's like we got to do something. So I'm
yeah,
not going to be one of those that does that. No knocking, not knocking anyone that has, but I'm
right,
just
right,
I did not want that for myself. Husband is my best friend and life's. So I always say life isn't easy, but if you are married and in a relationship with someone that you love, then you can get through those hard times together. It shouldn't be that marriage is hard or it's hard to be in a relationship
right,
with someone. And I will never sit and give anyone relationship advice because I know that what I have been able to experience and go through may not be what you're going through. So I can't tell you what to do because I didn't go through what you went through. And it's not a flex or a brag point or anything
of
like
course,
that. But
mhm, mhm.
it just is one of those things where I just feel like I see a lot of people these days that utilize their relationships to monetize it. And it's just like, and then you see them later and they're like, news comes out that they've been
Oh god, oh, yeah, oh Lord, yeah, go, yeah, you can go ahead and say it, go
yeah,
ahead and say it 'cause
all kinds of
it's
stuff. I mean, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah. So I just feel that you really just have to do your best to be led by your spirit and praying and stuff like that because I realize that marriage isn't for everyone. I will never sit and tell anyone that you should do this or whatever because it's what I did. What is good for me may not be good for you and
true,
vice versa. You know what I mean? But and that's one of the reasons why I don't even really talk about relationships too much because I will never sit and argue with anyone about my situation and theirs because I find that a lot of people love to debate and say, well, there's no way that you could. It's like, how do you know? Just because you
right,
went through that means that I had to have gone through that, and I'm not.
yes,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
get
So it's
you,
just like
mhm,
I would never waste my energy on having conversations with people about stuff like that because I do realize that a lot of people just like if I did, which I don't do this, if I talked about relationship stuff, it would be from my experience. And I realize that a lot of people speak from their experience because they have the experience of going through very bad situations with people that they have given their heart to and they had their heart broken or they were, you know what I'm so I'm not here to not value your feelings and invalidate how you feel, but don't try to bring that to my doorstep because that's what you experienced. I hate that you
yes,
do that, but it doesn't mean just because I went through that, you went through that means that I'm going
yes.
to go through that.
And that drives a wedge in a lot of relationships when they project their situation onto somebody else's that already had a solid foundation. Now you're trying to break theirs? No, 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 that's not fair, that's not cool,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
Ex yeah, 'cause, you have a like I said, what you have is rare because from high school now, was there any on and off periods or anything? Because, people say, "I've been on and off with this person since high school," or, "I've been on and off since college." So, did you have those periods, where you felt like you wanted to explore other options or you felt like you was missing out or, like, was those either one of you had those periods in your lives?
I mean, I can honestly say that I've never had that, and we've been together all of these years, married, and he's never felt that way. And I mean, like I said, we really have been each other's best friend. Like we would when he was, the times where he wasn't deployed and he was here working and, we would work and come home. And so, what are we having for dinner on the weekend? Or what are we
Mm,
going to do this weekend? Like I'm thankful. My husband loves to spend time with me. I'm
Oh,
actually one of the
that's so
people that
great.
is
Yeah.
I love my husband and I love being around him, but I'm an introvert and I'm also one of those people that um I when I feel like I'm getting crowded or whatever, I just need like a little space or a break. And I'm not talking about a space and break in terms of separation, but I'm just saying like
Oh, yeah, I think you do need but that's good though. In your perspective, don't you think it is good sometimes to have, your separate interest and,
no,
separate
100 yeah,
yeah.
100%. And
I
I'm
know what
just
you meant, yeah.
yeah, and I'm just trying to clarify when I say, my husband loves, to be around me. I'm not saying that I don't love to be around him because I do, but I'm just saying that he
Mhm.
he is the one that is more um expressive about it. I've become better over the years, but like I said, we've been together since we were pretty much teenagers, older teenagers, but still teenagers. And so he's always been expressive about that. Like I'm coming over, I'll be over at this time or whatever, before we got married. And but so I was never the one where I was always, where are you at? When you coming over?
Yeah.
I never had to sweat him and be trying to find out where he's at.
Yes,
Page,
yes.
back then we had the beepers and that type of stuff.
Yes,
I was
yes.
never having to page him all the
I
time.
can do
Where
that.
are you at? When you getting over here? That it was. I did not have that experience, and I I didn't know what a whole lot of other people were going through until you start hearing stories, and I
Yes,
never was.
right,
Yeah, and I would never sit and say, "Oh, sorry for you." I would never sit and compare.
right,
But then when I
right.
sit and hear some things, it's like, dang, I'm sorry that they're
Yeah,
going through
like, wow,
this.
thank God I have what I have. It's not, and then you realize it's like, I'm not really, am I missing anything out here in this dating market? You're not.
And
You're
and
not, you're
that's
not missing
and
anything.
that's what I'm saying, and when I think about how a lot of people operate, especially now, but they were doing it back then too, but it's just more pronounced because you got social media and it's just, like, constantly in your face, and we just also grew up in a different time where the music you had options. You had Little Kim, but then you also had Queen Latifah. You know what I mean? Now every female, it seems like, is just you know, sex, sex, sex.
Yeah, objectified. Mm-hmm.
It's very, very, very much
Mm-hmm.
so
Hmm.
objectifying their bodies, and so, I mean, and I've always thought from a health aspect, so it
Yes,
just never something that I felt like I was missing out on, or I just had the urge to, "Oh, I gotta try something new," this is
that's
eh,
great. Yeah,
yeah.
it's so refreshing. I mean, I know I'm really enjoying this. It's so refreshing to hear. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I really appreciate
just
that.
contrary to popular belief, not every
Mhm.
person, and it's not judging anybody that does, but
Right,
one of the things that I've learned, just because someone doesn't have what they call now a lot of bodies, does not make them
right.
good. It just makes them a person who made a decision for themselves. Just like I don't judge you because I feel that there are people who will judge more so these days that you did not have those types of experiences
Oh, they
versus
do.
if you do.
Yeah.
Instead of commending someone
Double-edged sword. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
instead of commending someone for making that type of decision and choice for themselves, they will it's almost like low-key pressuring, "Well, how you know if you ain't never" like,
You never had it. Yes, yes, yes.
well, just keep that opinion
Keep that energy over there.
yourself because this that type of reverse psychology or whatever is not working over here. It's not going to make me second thoughts or whatever. It's like that
Right.
because I'm quite aware that the grass always looks greener. It always looks greener.
Looks greener. Mhm.
And it, it's never to say life is perfect because nobody's life is perfect, but I also will say that me saying that doesn't mean that I've when I'm saying that it means that I've gone through that type of stuff because I haven't. I'm just saying there have been life moments, people getting sick, people losing jobs, people, you know what I mean, layoffs and just life stuff that you cannot control. I'm not talking about people making the, "Oh, I made a mistake and no,
Mm-mm. No.
no."
Okay. Yeah, but that's a blessing, though. I mean, I'm so happy to hear that you have that solid foundation. And so, when you as parents, what are some of the things you can share with us, as you evolve from a teen parent until the woman that you are now and the parent that you are now? Can you give us some of the evolution processes that you dealt with from being a teen parent, being with the same guy for all this time? And being a wife? How's that evolution process look to you?
I mean, I'm grateful because I just always kept my focus on us. I didn't look at what other
Good.
people
Yes.
were doing, longing, craving for what, may have looked, whatever. And then you never really know what's going on behind closed doors with people. So I always just kept my focus on my family. And when I say my family, I mean my immediate, that was my husband
Mhm.
and our son. So
Yes.
we spent many years continuing our education. I decided to go into the world of entrepreneurship. That was not easy and it was scary, but I took a step out of faith on faith and did that. And he supported me even in those times where he was just like, "Are you crazy?" Like,
Like you
you know what I
taking
mean?
a leap, giant leap. Mhm.
Right, because not understanding it, but still believing in me and like, well, I hope, hope everything works out. And then even supporting me in those ventures. And then when starting to see the results of the success and whatever, and being proud of me. And then there were times where I had gone through sickness and I wasn't able to work for quite some time, and I was, just a few years in, starting n operating my businesses that I had started, and he was just like, "Well, you don't have to do this," and I'm, like, appreciative, but I'm like, "I want to do this. This is what I want to do." But even in that, supporting me and taking care of me and, those different types of things like that, so, it has just been us being the example for our son, and uh he's a blessing. He's a hardworking young man. He doesn't have any children. So we've been the example for him. And he's just like, I'm focusing on my career. If I give y'all some
Love it.
grandkids someday, mama, I'll keep you posted. But right now, that's not. And
I
and
love it.
I'm like, well, yeah, just no pressure there. But and he's like, Mom, I ain't gay. All right.
Why do boys gotta
I
say
don't
that?
know.
My son said the same thing. I'm like, "Okay, if you needed me to know that, okay." But
Exactly. I don't know, but maybe they just already have a thing where it's like
yeah.
because and that is it's that's also another stereotype too, where it's just
Yeah.
people have this feeling that if a man, especially a black man at a certain age,
Don't get
does not
married or
have
have
at
children.
least one child or they're not married and they're just focusing on their work and their career, it's because they're hiding something. No,
Right, right. They
because
just living their lives.
yeah, just because you had 6 kids by the age of 19 does
With
not
different
mean
people.
that
Yeah.
every male, especially a
Right, it has to be.
yeah,
Some people just they rather just live life on their terms, and I mean, I ain't mad at you at all.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
but I appreciate you giving a refreshing take on, you know, being married and being with the same guy since high school and, having that family unit and not letting all the outside noise interfere with that. So, kudos to you on that, yeah, kudos to you. So I just want to know, Beth, right after high school, what did you do after high school? Did you go straight into college or like what did you do right after high school?
Actually, I got into the legal field right out of high school.
Legal field. Okay.
When I was a senior, my homeroom teacher, one day he just said to everybody who was in the class, he said, "Is there anybody that wants help trying to find a job?" I was the only one that raised my hand.
Really?
Yeah, I was the only one that raised my hand. And he said, "Well, just see me after class." And he said, "Well, what is it that you would like to do?" I said, "Well, I don't really want to work in food service. I don't think that's something that I want to do, but I'm not opposed to it." He said, "Well, look, my wife is an attorney and she just started working in this law firm recently. Maybe I'll reach out to her and see if they need any support
Wow.
or assistance there." So I got in working at this law firm. It was a small law firm. They brought me in as a receptionist. They trained me, to be there. And I was there. I started there like as a summer job. And I just expressed to them that I appreciated the opportunity. And hey, I would love the opportunity to stay on and just continue to support. And they loved the initiative and they said, "Well, look, if you're really serious about this, we'll train you and help you to become a legal assistant."
Nice.
So I did that, and I didn't go to school for, to become a paralegal, but I got on the job training as a legal assistant, and I did go to college part-time while I was working there because I also still was a mom full-time,
Yes.
and, yeah, and so but that career spanned 12 years of being in the legal
Really?
field.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's amazing. What college did you attend? What college you go to?
I went to a small technical college in Charleston, and I went there for business, and then I also went there years later for their aesthetics program to become a licensed esthetician. So yeah. Hmm.
And so, so you was in legal field for 12 years because you know there's bills, you know, like you say, you got bills, you have your medical benefits. So a lot of times when people get into the entrepreneur side, they want to jump ship, they want to jump into that, but not knowing that you need something steady first. You need to have you need to be actually employed first, you know, kinda build your nest egg first, you know, because you know you for yourself, running your own business is not for the weak, you know? And so you have like bills, health insurance, a child to feed, and so I just wanted to know, how did you transition from, um, the legal, um, the legal side, regular employment into self-employment?
Sure. I kind of feel like I got pushed out of it because I was holding on. I was afraid. I'll admit I was afraid. And
Of course.
the last law firm that I ever worked in, one day, it was a small firm, and one day one of the attorneys that was I didn't even work directly for him. He just came in my office one day and he was like, "We're letting you go." And I'm
Ooh,
like, yeah, I'm like, what? I'm thinking, what did I do? But he was like, it's nothing personal. We're if you want to apply for unemployment, we won't contest it. But yeah, we're gonna close this position down. And I was like really dealing with my beliefs and faith that time. And I just prayed. I was like, God, like, what is this about? And I said, you know what? Maybe this is what I needed to really start focusing on the business and making that step. So that's when I kind of really started heavy doing that. And I didn't just go all in only with the business. I did work like other jobs in the wellness and beauty industry
okay.
while I was doing the business, but that was the last legal assisting job that I ever had. And I made the promise to myself that I will never work in another law firm ever again because it honestly was not the best experience. That law firm, I was there for 2 years and it was really toxic. But
Mm,
I really, I mean, I got to the point where I cried on some Sunday nights because I was not looking forward to going to work on
aw,
Monday. And
mm,
I was like, I know I don't need to be here anymore, but I really was just staying on for the check, you know?
gotcha.
Yeah. So that's what gave me the push to get into, having and doing my own thing. Yeah.
And so in doing your own thing, again, can you give us some bullet points of how that process? Because you know, you knew at that time that set the tone for your transitioning into this. So can you give the audience some bullet points into, because like I said, we're trying to inspire some people. We're trying to give as much gems as we can in regards to that. Um, how to what the startup is, and how to navigate work life balance, and being able to focus on starting this business, the financial backing that you need, and the office space, and establishing yourself. Like, can you give us some bullet points on how to get started on that, and what catapulted your career?
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to make it as brief as possible for
Right,
people.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, it can be a lot, but I just always say, start small. It's great to have a big vision, but start small. And that's what I did. I just built and grew as I went along. Also, you have your bills that you have to pay, so you just gotta be wise about the expenditures that you make for the investments that you're doing
Mhm.
for your business. So don't do things that are just to aesthetically please the eyes of other people because if you're not making money, who even cares. Like the example recently, Kenya, who had the hair spa,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
spent all of that money to outfit that space, and then she wasn't paying her rent.
Yeah,
And it's
jumping the
like,
gun.
yeah, it's like, I think if people really wanted to support her, they would have come in the business whether it looked so clean and pristine and, so looking rich and expensive and whatever, where she could have just started smaller and simpler. And you know what I mean? And she probably would not have this sort of like a humiliation situation,
Yes,
eviction,
yes.
because it's like, it's one thing to close a business because it happens, but to have that type of embarrassment publicly being evicted from this space, and you say, well, I spent all this money to build this space out and they owed me this money, so I just held the rent. That wasn't even wise, you know, because you have to pay your rent. You can't legally do that, you
Right,
know.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So, those are just like a few tips, and just invest as you go. Don't try to spend a whole bunch of money and get yourself into debt in the beginning, trying to
Mhm.
things that you really don't need. If it's not stuff that you need that's going to help you to
Immediately.
the
Mhm.
money in return, then you don't really need it. You can invest in those things later, because that's what I did, over the years. It wasn't, that I just started out with these amazing spaces that were just like, oh my God, you walk in and it looks like the, you know, whatever hotel or whatever. Like, no, I'm me. And I was doing everything the best that I could with what I had. So, and then as time goes on and you're making more money and you make these changes, people love, I realize that people love to see that. They're like, oh my God, did you change the lighting? Did you, you know what I mean? So they
Yes,
like
they
to see
noticed. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So, you know what I mean? They're there for the journey and a part of it, and they see it, and they feel like they're a part of it too, because it's like, I'm supporting this business. I'm coming here and you are making great investments in the business. You're not just another tip, you're not just spending it all on yourself. So they don't
Mm,
just see you driving the best and wearing the best, but then the business looks like whatever. You know what I mean?
right.
So yeah, you have to make the main thing the main thing. And
Yes, and I do.
go
Oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No.
No, I was gonna say that, because, bad, a lot of black-owned businesses get a bad rep as it is, because it seems like, when it comes to, we always talk about support black-owned businesses, but these black-owned businesses need to step their game up. They need, because I think they just feel like they just take us for granted to the point where they feel like that we should have to understand that Chef Pookie is going to be 2 hours late to cook, at the restaurant, or we should understand that, we're not going to have all the supplies that you need, even though you telling us to support you. So it just, you just have to, start small so you could build from there, not
Right.
and not over promise and under deliver. So you don't want to
Exactly.
set yourself up in that way. So now, what made you decide to get into the skincare business? What made you decide on that in particular?
Yeah. I was always intrigued by skincare, I have to say. And then when I got to, the point where I was going to school for something else, because I did, go to school for business. And then I said, well, you know what? I feel like I want something more. I will say for me, I really prayed about it, and I just really felt this urge and desire to get into the skincare industry. And so that's what I did. And I don't have any regrets about it, but I feel like I'm giving something when I am being in this space of serving in this way.
Right, or be the space of serving. I like that. Be in the space of serving. And
Yeah.
so when you in the space of serving, when you so since you mentioned that, I want to ask you even further. When you're in the business of serving, what type of what do you get from it? If that makes sense. What do you get from it? What are you hoping to accomplish? Like, how does it really make you feel? Like, how do you truly feel within when you say, you know, when you in the business of serving? Is that your love language?
Yeah, it is. It is. I will say that I did a lot of work in the beginning years of the career, not being paid. Like, I did a lot for free and I didn't have a problem with it. I really enjoyed helping people and serving them in that way. So I feel like that was something that I just got some peace and joy, doing that. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at this keys to start a profitable business course. So um because this sounds to me that you have to, of course, know the concept of genius marketing. So, what are some marketing tools that you can share with us that will really help our business grow? Because social media, you can't go around that. But how can we use social media as a tool, as well as courses, as well as um, networking, as far as like the type of marketing strategy that we would need to
Oh,
grow?
that's a lot.
Yeah, I know, I know,
I
I
mean,
know. I
no, I mean, I would just say that the marketing, you can't stop marketing for your business because people are going to come and go, even, as a s- a content creator, you will have people that will watch you sometimes, and then no people will come, and there'll be people that haven't watched you in a while, and you know what I mean. And I'm just saying, if you're in the and you don't have to show that. I'm just like,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I just yeah. When you're in the entrepreneur, field, there's some things that you can do on your own. Definitely, going to different places in your area to just meet people and network, those things are still important, but social media definitely has made things a lot more advanced.
It's
So,
right,
yeah.
right.
So honestly, getting with marketing companies that know your industry, I think is one of the best tips that you can take, and then just vibing them out and seeing if they're gonna be able to support and assist what you're trying to do.
Yeah, so I think that's important because I know nowadays with technology being so advanced, it seems like they're trying to eliminate human experience. They're trying to eliminate the human exchange. And
Mhm.
so I don't want us to get too comfortable with that because I think that we still need the human exchange.
Right.
I still think we need human interaction.
Yeah.
Actually, I prefer that in a lot of ways. Because even when it comes to doing checkout, I don't wanna do no self-checkout, I wanna go to the cashier. So
That
just using that as example, you know?
exactly. I
You
agree.
know?
I
So but I really do appreciate you offering, those bullet points, those guide into your approach towards, building
yeah.
a business, and congrats on your success at that.
Thank
So, yeah, so before I forget, I wanna make sure that I give you your flowers for the journey that you gave us so far, the journey that you shared with us so far. You deserve your flowers.
thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
you're absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so, I wanna get into, Being Beautifully Honest podcast. What is
mm.
that all about? What is the Being Beautifully Honest podcast?
Honestly, that has just been a hobby. I started it in 2020 around
It's not just a hobby. Mm-mm.
yeah, I started around the time of the pandemic,
Okay.
actually, maybe maybe right before, or maybe around the same time, but it was around the time of Kobe Bryant's death, and
Yeah, mhm.
I and a lot of times when I'm working, I may talk with clients about stuff that we saw in the news or on social media, whatever, and it could be like the entirety of the service that we're talking about it. And I just decided to do a podcast and talk about that memorial, and it went
Oh.
that podcast episode. It went.
Oh, it started there. Okay.
I didn't intend on that. I didn't do it to try to you know, get under anyone's skin or, or go viral or anything like that. I just did it and decided to, you know, create this podcast. And so being beautifully honest, I'm just trying to be honest. I'm in the beauty industry. I'm trying to, you know, be as beautiful about my opinions as possible, even if you think it's ugly. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend.
It can be, I mean,
Yeah, and that's just how that, came to be, and then I just continue doing it. I enjoy it, it's fun to me, and so that's pretty much what that, has been about.
Okay, and so, and I wish you abundant blessings on that as well. But don't I don't know. I mean, I know people say it's a hobby, but I think it's just more of an experience than that. But that's just me, you
And
know.
you're probably
Yeah,
right
some
about
people
that,
take
but
it for
I would just
granted. Yeah,
yeah, I just say that to say, I didn't get into it to try to make it a business.
right. To make right
And
because YouTube ain't trying with even with these restrictions. They ain't trying to really give you much of anything.
oh,
So
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, that's it. But yeah,
so let me.
I enjoy doing the content when I'm able to do it, and I love when people comment on my content, and you know what I mean. And even if we don't agree, it's fine. I just enjoy doing it, and I more so enjoy other people's content than even doing my own. So that is,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that I find myself in that space as well. So let me ask you, Beth. So how did the collaboration with you and Tasha K come about?
Oh wow, I honestly I really don't, in terms of, like, collaboration, you're talking about with the, content, the
The content is also her what was that show she got
wine is
that-
the new tea?
right, right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I you never know who's watching you. You never know who's, watching you, sub to you, and just really enjoying your stuff. But she just reached out to me one day, and I was like, really? You know what I mean? But I never did anything to try to get her attention. My thoughts, I really do love her channel. I love her content. And that doesn't mean I agree with everything that she says, because I don't think anyone agrees with everyone all the time, because we're
True.
individuals. But I do. I love her work ethic. She does her channel, and then she's got her app and all the other things that she's doing. It's structured amazingly. I respect her hustle as a businesswoman. She's got a lot in common with me, I feel like, as a wife, because she's also been with her husband for, I believe, 20 years. Probably been with him a little longer, but married, going on 20 years. I love that because you don't really see too much of that, too more these days. And I just love the fact that she's had this public situation where there were just so many people that really just were like wishing bad for her, and she continued to persevere in spite of that. And I love that for her as a Black woman, as a mother, as a wife. I respect that. But I will say, in terms of collaboration, I can't say that I knew that was going to happen, because I didn't ask for it. I didn't know it was going to happen. It just, she reached out to me one day about this show that she was doing, and she asked me if I would be willing to, do an episode of the show that she was doing. And I said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah, I love your content. I love,
Wow.
how you operate. And yeah, I would love it if you would, do it." And I said, "Sure." So I tried it out, and and I think I did one or two more episodes, but it she asked me, and that's just how that happened.
Mm.
Mhm.
That's great. So with your podcast and in your platform growing, and that experience with Tasha K and all that you shared as far as your admiration for her, what are some of the key things you would take from her as far as how she run a platform on her business, and what are some of the key things you might take with you and as far as how you structure your platform, or
Oh,
if any?
yeah. If I were ever as if I was able to focus on the podcast as much as she does for her platform, I definitely would take the tools of having a good support system and team,
Oh
because
yes, yes.
I'm not saying she's not capable of doing what she does on her own, but she even says it herself that, well, I actually have a team that helps me with running my social media, and they help me with getting my topics together. She has her show structured, she has it scheduled, and it's specific days of the week, and and she has the times that she does it, but also she has created an amazing community. Whether there are the people out there that are just like, "Oh my God, just stop it already. We hate what you're doing." She has the people that love her and support her no matter what. And the reason that is because she has really just been herself. that she's really connected with these people that are in her community, and she makes them feel that she really appreciates them and she is there for them. She honestly does a whole lot that I don't ever see that I could be able to do, because she really goes above and beyond just connecting with her. She has millions of, literally millions of followers, and she knows some of them by name. Do you know any other people that have that many
Right.
followers that
Mm,
know a lot of them, not just a couple of people, I'm saying a lot of
mhm.
them by name? Because if you're subscribed to her app, that she has a community wall on her app, and people can just go on their app, on her app, on that community wall, and share selfies of themselves or just talk about something personal that they're going through. She's not stopping people from talking about themselves. She's just not making it all about her. It's not so and she wants to let people know that she cares. And you don't see a lot of that from people that have the type of
True.
following numbers wise that she has, and it's genuine. I don't believe that she's doing that as, it's because it's fake. I truly believe that that is who she is to the core, and that's
Mm.
just how she's operated.
Oh, wow.
Can't
I
really
mean,
fake
yeah,
that.
yeah,
People can feel fake, and that's just not
yeah.
something
Mhm.
that you can fake, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that perspective, and
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that because a lot of times we don't really know, like, we interact with people different, and from the outside looking in, you may view her in a certain way, and a lot of us do, but
Yeah,
you was able to experience her on a whole nother level. So, hey, I mean, so that's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I would say and it's not just that I've experienced her on another level, because yeah, I do have that testament of that happening, but even prior to that, there's a lot of content that she's done, and I'm not saying that everyone would listen to all of the content that she has done, but if you just look at the salacious, stories, or someone that she interviewed that has a salacious story, if you just look at that and see her as that, then yeah, there are going to be people that are not going to view her in a very positive way. But she's done a lot of content where she's just talked about herself and her story and her
Yes.
struggles. She's
Mhm.
talked about how she and her husband filed for bankruptcy years ago, not just this recent
Right, right.
situation. Years
Mhm,
ago, they
mhm.
had a business where they had a trucking business, and the economy declined, and they were just, and she's talked about those stories. She's talked about her growing up and and her mother, and just personal situations like that. She's talked about her fears. She's talked about her struggles and things like that. So she's really shared a lot of things personally that people could relate to and connect with. But if someone, not you, so when I say
Right, I
you're,
get it, I get it. Mhm.
so if people are just looking at her as just the gossip blogger, then yeah, if she talks about one of your faves that, it aggravated you, then yeah, you're gonna look at her like the devil, but
Yes,
she's
yes.
just she's just reporting the stories. It's not who she is. And then just the way she brings the stories, it's her style of doing it. Some people love the style, some people hate the style, but hate it or love it, the people follow and they comment. Even the haters, their comments, and it's like, I personally don't follow people and comment on stuff with people I don't like. So that just shows
Right, right.
the
That helps.
gravitational pull
Yeah.
that she has, because she because she used to say years ago in her commentary, because I started following her on social media back in like late 2017, and actually one of my clients was the one that put me onto her. Um,
Mm.
and used to say in her commentary, she was like, and um, something about, like the video or don't like the video. Either way, hit the thumbs up, thumbs down. It's not like I'm gonna care anyway. Just go ahead and engage, and people too. So you know what I mean. And it's like, I personally don't waste my time commenting in people's stuff and following people that I don't care for. And there are a few people that I really don't care for, but I can tell you this: I'm not sub to them. I definitely don't watch their content, and you will never see me commenting
Engaging.
comment.
Right.
I just
Right,
don't
and I agree, 'cause it's I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people don't grab that concept. I understand that you have the freedom of speech, you have the right to express your opinion about someone who you don't agree with or don't sit well with you, but but when they get overly invested into that person's opinion, and it just not always facts, but their opinions about,
Yeah,
certain people, they get really hung up on that to the point where, they're ready to, dox you. I don't know if you know what, like,
yeah,
dox meaning,
I've heard about stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, but
and
yeah,
and it wasn't anything, like, towards you when I was like, "Oh, you
right.
don't show that, you don't need to show that."
Oh, right, right.
I don't get into,
Really
like, my personal
protective.
life, and then even some things I don't connect because I may have multiple businesses, but it's not connected to this podcast, and,
Right, right.
it's
I
not, so
totally get it.
yeah,
Yeah,
because people
I
are
totally
weird out
understand
here,
that.
and you just never know, and I'm just like, "You know what? I got enough going on in my life. I don't really need somebody who got too much time on their hands trying to whatever
Yes.
because they don't like me or whatever." And it's just like so it's just like, I just
Mhm.
leave stuff like that far from my life because I've done my best as possible to live a life that is, as peaceable as possible, so
Absolutely, and I love that approach. I love that for you, because, and some people just like to troll. Some people just wanna get a reaction from you because they like to troll. So, I
yeah.
mean, you have to yeah, you have those people too, but as long as you're engaging, I mean, and even if you have a difference of opinion, excuse
Mhm.
me, or, you don't gotta be disrespectful about it,
Yeah,
you could debate about it in a respectful way, and everything will be fine because we're adults up in here.
mhm,
So,
right.
that's another thing as well. So I'm really enjoy your perspectives on how you, approach these particular, scenarios. So I do appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
Now, nice. So, Beth, I want to play a game. I want to have some fun with you. I mean, it was fun, so far. I mean, I really enjoyed this conversation, but I want to have a little fun with you. I
Mhm.
want to do a little game called this or that.
Okay.
All right.
Here they come, yo. Here they come.
Yeah, this or that. So I'm gonna be coming up with some random stuff. Don't have to be anything in particular. I'm just gonna come up with two things that you have to choose one or the other. You can't say both. You can't plead the fifth. It's
Okay.
either this or that.
All
All
right.
right. Timu or Shein?
Timu?
Have you shopped at okay, have you shopped on either one of those? Because it will defeat the purpose if you didn't.
I only said Timu because I've gotten a few things from there. I've never done Shein before, so
You
I
never done Shein.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so let me okay, let me do another one, because I want to make sure that you experience both. So yeah,
Okay.
because it will kind of yeah. So apples or oranges?
Oranges.
Okay. Now, um, I don't know if you okay. As I want to make sure that you're because I don't want to assume whether or not you're familiar with these particular artists. I'm a music person, so
Okay,
I do a lot of music stuff when I do this game. I gotta work on other stuff. I gotta get variety.
no problem.
Okay. Oh, okay. Are you an old school person? Are you a fan of old school music? Okay. So, um, the Gap Band or Cameo?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'll say Cameo. I know I can't choose both. I like both, but,
Yes, yes.
you
I
know
understand.
yeah, I'll say Cameo.
Okay, so here it is. Sly or the family Sly Stone or Boosie Collins?
We'll see.
You picked my boyfriend. That's my boyfriend in my head. All right. So, Own or Bravo?
Bravo. Yeah.
Okay. So, Conscious TV or King Jives?
King Jives.
Oh, you said that. Oh, you said that quickly. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Surf or Turf?
Ooh. Surf.
Okay. Um, beauty, beauty or podcasting?
Oh gosh. Why you do that?
I know, right?
Um, I'll say beauty because it's what I do the most of.
You do most stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Now, I'm gonna try to really get you on this one. Um, Coming to America or Boomerang?
Boomerang.
Aw.
One of my favorite.
That's your favorites?
I love both, but that's one of my favorite movies. I can quote so many parts from that movie, like, that's one of the
Oh,
funniest movies
mhm.
I love.
Yeah, okay, good one, good one. Okay, so Layla Rashawn or Vivica Fox?
Vivica. Yeah.
All right, and TV or radio?
TV. I have it on.
job. Oh, yeah, good job, good job, good job. You said what? I'm sorry, what was the last thing you said?
No, I said I have it on more than the radio, so TV. Yeah,
All right, that was good. Okay. I was
yeah.
like, yeah, 'cause I wanted to get you good. I got you a couple
Those
of
are
times,
good.
but
Yeah,
you didn't allow but you didn't allow it to get to you though. You still,
right.
you bounced back. I love that. Yeah, you played it smooth. You were smooth with it. All right. So Beth, I want, I like to ask these two final questions before we wrap up.
Mhm.
And I love the responses that I get.
Okay.
So if you were to have five people, just five people at the city table, dead or alive, who would they be and why? And I need that why to each one. Why you make that face?
Oh my God, 5 people and oh Lord.
Yes, that's what. Yep, I said it. Hmm.
Well, 1, definitely my husband because I love him. He's my best friend. Um, my mom because I love her. I talk to her on the phone at least once a day. And like I said, I love her and I'm grateful that she's still in my life. Dead or alive, Lord Jesus. um, ooh, man, why'd you do this? 5 people?
Yep,
Oh,
sure. Yep, five people.
oh my God. Um, I don't want to sound weird. Um, jeez.
These are your five.
I know, and, it should just be easy, but then it's like 5 people, but,
I know, I know, and it could change tomorrow. Just
yeah,
just a
I know, I'm just ah, I would say the girl who was my best friend growing up in elementary school because I
Oh,
haven't
that we
seen
talked about. Okay.
so, her name was Tiffany Brown, so, yeah, she would she would be number 3. Um, I'm gonna say this, and I'm not saying this to try to kiss up or anything like that, but I will say Tasha K. 1, because you asked me about her,
Mhm,
and
right.
2,
Yeah. Hmm.
I just, I just really have a lot of respect for, her hustle. So I would just want to talk to her more about just her work life balance because she has been really working hard and it's like the nonstop hardest to me working woman. And now not just online, but radio as well, because now she's doing radio. So yeah, so that would be number 4. And then number 5, he's dead. Um, s- Prince. And I say that because I regret not going to his
Me
concert when he
too.
came
Me too.
to the town that I could have seen him in.
Mhm.
Should have just went at that time, my husband was deployed, and I didn't
Um,
really have anybody I wanted to go with, and
yeah.
years later, I started getting comfortable going places by myself, but back
Yes.
I would not have gone anywhere
Right.
by
Mhm.
myself, so I did not go, so I'll say number 5 would be Prince.
Love it. Yes. And who would get the big piece of chicken and why?
My husband. This is my husband.
Yes, yes. See, you better serve your man. Right? Yeah, I love it. I love it. That was you did good. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too
Yeah.
bad, was it?
No.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, before I get ask you this question, what are your spiritual beliefs?
Um,
I know you mentioned God a
yeah,
couple.
I'll say this. I believe in God and I actually do believe in Jesus. I've come to this place where I don't call myself a Christian anymore because I feel that
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
Americanized Christianity is like, what in the world is that? And
Yes.
I'm just like, I don't want no parts of that because if these people are saying that God saved the 45/47's life and got some other
Mhm.
people taken out of here so that he could be the president, then I don't know what type of God y'all are believing in and serving. So I'll stay away. y'all, y'all can keep that. Yeah.
Okay, duly noted. So this
Mhm.
question I take from the late James Lipton from Inside the Actor Studio. So being beautifully honest, when you enter into the pearly gates, what would you want God to say?
welcome. I don't need to hear nothing else. It's like
As long as
it's
you in there,
done and
right?
over with,
Yeah.
so just welcome, you know?
Yeah, yeah. As long as you in there, right?
That's
Yeah,
it.
okay. Hey, duly noted. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I mean, just worthy of, receiving, and I hope that it was received well by our audience. So I really do appreciate that. So do you have any final words for us?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you having me on. Honestly, this was fun. I am very much an introvert, and it's one of the reasons why my podcast is just like, yeah, I don't do live and I don't really show my face much in terms of just doing like poetry.
Right, right.
I'm, grateful to be a part of your platform doing this interview, but I am just taking life day by day. I'm thankful for, everything that I have experienced and what I'm currently, just seeing in my life because I do believe that there's just so much greatness that we just continue to press forward and believe and, don't give up, don't quit.
Amen, amen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have in the building Beth Jennings, aka Minister of Beauty, aka being beautifully honest. Thank you so
Thank you.
yes so much.
All
Yes.
right.
God bless you.
Thank you. Bless you.
All right.
Night,
Night
all right.
night. Yes. You guys, thank you so much for being a part of this experience. I really enjoyed what being beautifully honest. And I do like that name, by the way. I mean, she was able to give us some gems and able to give a refreshing take on marriage and being a teen mom and having and actually marrying a high school sweetheart. Really, really doing that, and really sticking it out all those years and being able to give her journey and not and be able to seclude herself from all the outside noise, and that kept her foundation solid. So I really do appreciate her for giving her perspective on that, as well as some marketing tips, some business that business tips that you need to follow if you decide to go in that field of entrepreneurship. So I do appreciate her for that, and so I hope that you enjoyed this, whether you was in the bushes, whether you were lurking and you catch it a replay or you're in the live tonight. Thank you so much for your support. And on that note, I think I would want you to do what my girl Tamara tell you to do. Listen to what she got to say. Comment and share. Don't make you aware. Faith is the substance.